Okay, welcome back. So in the last video we created this bullet and we made it shoot away from us. So I'm just going to hit play. There you go, you can see it shoots away from us. So just to save this bullet, which I showed you in the first video, we can drag the bullet straight up and pop it over here into our assets. So this is now in our file structure. We now have a copyable version of the bullet, and you can see if I dragged a few in, hit play, they all do the exact same thing. They're just going to fly away from us, which is fantastic. So I'm going to delete all 3 bullets now because I have my copy, so I don't need it in the scene. And I'm actually going to make a new script. Going to make a new C# script, and I'm going to make a script and I'm going to call it gun. Please remember not to rename your scripts once you've made them. If you do need to rename them, you've got to copy your code, create a new script, pop the code in that script, and then set your name here to the new name. So just don't rename your scripts, guys. Okay, so we've got all our functions. What we're going to do for now is use a start function, and later on we will be using the update function, because for now I just want to create the bullet at the start of the game through code. Later on I'm going to put it in the update function, and it's going to be in a query, so it's going to have an if statement on it to say, if I left click, I want you to create a bullet. So it's a gun. So for now, we are going to get a reference to our bullet. So we're going to say it's going to be a public, because I need Unity to see the bullet, so then we can reference it, which I'll show you in a second. I want a game object, because we are making the game object bullet. Game object is a variable type, which is a Unity built-in variable type, and I'm just going to call it bullet. Remembering my naming conventions, it's a variable, lowercase b. So in the start function, I'm going to create this bullet, which I will have a reference to when I drag it in the Unity editor, which I will show you in a second. But for now, let's create a bullet. So to create a bullet, we want to actually instantiate a bullet. Create means instantiate. Now when we instantiate, we have a few options. As we can see, if we highlight over it, here the most recommended one is object original, vector 3 position, quaternion rotation. So object original, all that means is just what object do you want me to create. So thank you very much, computer. I would like you to create my bullet, which I have a reference to. Next up, it wanted me to give a vector 3, and here are all the possible ways you can instantiate, but I want this version, so you can just cycle through them using the arrows. So now I'm going to give my vector 3 position, so I'm actually going to say make it at my new vector 3, must set my brackets, and I'm going to say that I want it at 0, 0, 0. So I want you to make this bullet exactly where my gun is. And then the last thing was your rotation. So we're just going to say quaternion, which is hard to spell, so just find it and press enter. Dot identity. And this effectively just means quaternion is just gobbledygook for what rotation we're using, and identity is just saying just use the original identity, I don't want to change it. Don't forget to put a semicolon at the end of a line. That also makes errors go away, because then it understands it all. So what we're saying is, please make a public game object called bullet which we will reference in the Unity editor. We now have access to this, and I will show you. And we're just saying, please create our bullet at the same position as us. We want 0x, 0y, 0z. So just make it right in front of us. On top of us. And we just want it on the exact same rotation as, we just don't want to change the rotation. So that's fine, and we can keep in the update. That's not going to do anything. We don't have any code in there. We've pressed Control S to save. So we can come back in here, and now I want our gun to be on the camera. So I'm going to drag our gun, and actually I'm going to drag it straight into the gun in the inspector. And you can see here is our public game object bullet. So public means it's going to be seen in the inspector. We gave it the name of bullet, and here it's saying that nothing has been attached yet. We haven't got a reference to anything yet, but we're looking for a game object type. So I'm just going to drag my game object bullet, click and drag, straight in. It goes, yep, not a problem. That's a game object that I can use, which is, well, that's excellent, isn't it? So I'm just going to play the game in a second. I just want you to note that there are only two game objects in the scene, a main camera and a directional light. But keep your eyes on here and the scene, because hopefully, voila, we've created a bullet, and on its own, the bullet is moving forward using its own code that we used last time, which is fantastic. So you stop and it's deleted, you play the game again, and it creates a bullet, voila. So that is how you create a game object using code, except I don't want my bullet being spawned directly on the camera position. I want it spawning directly from my gun barrel. So a really quick and easy way to do that is to create an empty game object, and I'm going to call this gun barrel, gun barrel, is that it? Or LE? I don't know, gun barrel end. And this is just going to be a reference, so I'm just going to drop it into the main camera, so then it's attached, because this is, I always want it to be moving with my game, with my main camera. And I just want it slightly in front. So let's go to our camera. Oh, too far. Go to our camera, and I just want it slightly in the Z, because I know that's in front of us, so I believe that's that way. Let's just check that the bullet goes, yeah, positive Z is that way, so we want it just in front. So now I want my bullet to be spawned not at my position on the camera, but my position on the gun barrel end. So back into our script, I'm going to Control D on this line just to have another copy of it. It just duplicates. You can see it's thrown up some errors because it's saying that gun is already defined with the bullet. Sorry, the bullet is already defined. It's because we've got two versions of the same name. You can't have them with the same name, but that's okay because it's actually barrel. Yeah, it is the barrel end position now. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say, instead of making my bullet, so instead of creating my bullet at the position 0, 0, 0, I want you to make it at the barrel end position, and I want it to be put on its position. And I'm just going to press Control S. I want to keep its transform. That's completely fine. So now if we go into Unity, remember it's a public game object, so we now have access to to reference our gun barrel. So gun barrel end position, we can drag that straight in here. And now if we play, the bullet should be further away from us, which is fantastic. We could move this further away so then it's a bit more obvious that it's doing what we want it to do, like at 25. There you go, you see it spawned all the way over there this time, which is fantastic. I believe that is everything for this lesson. Yep, we make a game object from the start function, and that is a bullet which moves forward in a direction. So next lesson we will look at making the bullet be created when I press the left mouse button.